You're listening to the Certified Personal Trainer Podcast, a show by personal trainers for personal trainers. It's time to become a better trainer, get more clients, and change more lives.
All right, guys. So we have been talking a lot about sales and marketing and what you should post on Instagram and all the things. We kind of wanted to take some time today and talk about you and your needs and kind of what you're needing behind the scenes, whether you have your own business and you're feeling a little bit burnt out from that, whether you are feeling like you got way too much on your plate. If you're feeling like you're not being as efficient as you would like to be, or if you're just feeling bleh. We wanted to really kind of talk about some things today to help you all with your productivity and time management, and go that route. I'm super excited about it. I've been wanting to do something like this for a while now. And I'm sure we'll go off on some tangents here, and I cannot wait because we always do, and it's super exciting. But joining us today is Miguel, Matt, and Pat, and myself, and it'll be super, super fun. All right, let's do it. All right, y'all. So obviously, I just want to start out, productivity in general is not about doing more. It's about being more efficient and more effective with your efficiency. And, your goal is to have more impact with less work as a trainer, right? And to work towards this, we want to manage our time wisely so that we can avoid burnout and we can ensure longevity in our career. And we want to ensure that we down the road, still want to be doing what we're doing every day. It's super easy, especially when you're first starting out. You'll take any client ever, you will load a bunch on your plate. You will do a lot, which is not a problem. However, it becomes a problem when you reach that feeling of, damn, I'm burnt out. And also, and this is what I'm going to harp on a lot today, you're not giving life and time to your personal needs, right? Whether that's you going to the gym, whether that's you hanging out with your family, whether that's you catching a movie with a buddy, right? Whatever that is, I feel strongly about this. And I know a lot of us at Fitness Mentors love the idea of that, work-life integration type deal. That ultimately, even if that's not your goal, it's a good thing to focus on, especially for our trainers that have their own businesses and they're working online and they're working from out of their home, because it's definitely easy to feel burnout as an online trainer and an in-person trainer. However, when we're at home, it's easy to feel this sense of burnout and distraction and XYZ, and we'll get into it. Understanding your needs is going to be key, right? What do you need on a weekly, on a daily, whatever basis? What do you need? What do you need to get done for yourself in your day? What does your workout regimen look like, right? Do you need to eat? Yes, you need to eat. Do you need to drink water? Probably, right? So what do your needs look like? I know it sounds silly and that this all would come naturally, but to some, I definitely have trainer friends that forget to eat. Me, I don't forget to eat. I wish I did, but I don't. So that's another thing we will get into. And then master organization skills that work for you. The reason I said work for you is because I have gone to so many webinars and seminars that give me these tactics to organize myself in a certain way. And it doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me. I don't resonate with it. And I'm like, damn, what am I doing wrong? Right. But there's different ways to master your own form of organization. And we'll get into that today. And then setting boundaries. I know we've chatted about that before on our webinars here. And it's super important. As we know, in terms of like that client to personal trainer relationship, boundaries are key. However, I want to comment on the fact that it is super important to set a boundary with yourself, right? You need to know when you're feeling burnt out. You need to know when, hey, I'm not going to lift today. I need to just go to bed, right? There's boundaries that you need to set with yourself as well. Okay. So we'll get into that. If you guys have questions at any point today, please feel free to write in the chat. And yeah, Miguel or Matt, do you have anything to say?
No, just really like I'm laughing a little bit because we hopped on this call and Matt and I were on here first, and I was just saying to Matt how he said the good old question of like, how are you doing? And I was like, you know what? I'm all right. I'm actually though feeling like I don't give myself enough time. And like today I was feeling just so overwhelmed because I say yes to everyone. And as soon as I wake up, I'm opening my laptop, responding to emails, doing all these things, which is great. But like, who am I as a person? I haven't even like set myself up for success yet for the day. So this is also relevant. I think it's something that you continually learn. You learn more about yourself. You learn about what works well in different seasons of your life as well. Things don't just, it's not a one and done deal, right? So right now I'm also trying to navigate like, okay, things are shifting in my life. How can I make sure that I'm still keeping myself accountable and being smart about my productivity and time management? So it's just all very relevant. So I was chuckling during your introduction because I just said this to Matt.
Topical. It's topical.
Yeah. And I think that this is something that can, like, time management in general could be something that I don't know. Some people take it seriously and then some people don't, but it's one of the things that I've taken the most seriously. Also because I think it's the thing that I can be very bad at. Because I can be very laissez-faire with things. But especially as an online trainer, we're just working for yourself. It's like time management is one of the most important things you can do, but not only as a, as your own employer, but also just as a human. I think your ability to manage your time and point your attention towards things that are good for you. And, it's literally, I remember I was about to try and find it, but there was a quote about how you are, whenever you misuse like your time, or like you are kind of not being intentional with it, or you're doing things that aren't of very high value to you. And that also means like sitting around doing nothing can also be high value of you. I'm not saying you have to be productive every minute, but not being intentional with your time, like you're literally paying for it with your life, right? And I thought that was a very big thing that I learned. And I was like, you're right. Like whenever you are spending time on things that you don't value, or like, being nonchalant about it. And of course, you're never going to be perfect with that, but you are spending your life energy towards that, that you can never get back. So you can always make more money, but you can never make more time. So I think that it's a pretty important thing to figure out. So yeah, excited to talk about it today. Yeah,
I love that. Yeah, you don't understand really, or you don't really let it stick with you until you do find yourself, missing family gatherings or time with friends, or not being able to fit in your own workouts. That's when you're like, damn. And then that's when you're also like, dang, I should have set these boundaries a while ago, or taken this more seriously, a month ago. Right. So I guess today's webinar is it will hopefully resonate with all of you, to kind of, including myself, to kind of, after the webinar, let these thoughts soak in and let them resonate with you in the way you need them to, and to maybe apply some new things to the way you look at all of this. Because I think a lot of people don't take it seriously enough, including myself. So, but let's move on. Awesome. So I just had a couple of questions. Check in with yourself, right? When we're talking about time management, someone on this call today might have an excellent way that they manage their time, right? But others may not. So on a daily basis, do you feel like you're reaching your personal goals? Okay. And with this, I would also say, on a daily basis, do you feel like you're reaching your business goals, or your client goals, or your revenue goals, right? I do think this is a really important question to ask yourself and write down your thoughts on it. I did this 3 months after I started my online training business. All of my business goals were golden. They were actually pretty up to par with what I wanted 3 months in. My personal goals were shit. Absolute sorry, doggy poop. Okay. Because I was so focused on one part of my life, I wasn't able to blend the two. And you'll see it today. I think if I remember correctly, I know people throw around work-life balance, but Matt, another Matt at Fitness Mentors, always talks to me about this idea of work-life integration, which we'll get into. And I don't care if you believe in it or not. The reason I really like that is because you're able to integrate the two together without feeling like one is dampering the other. And so by asking these questions for yourself, I think you're able, if when you put it down on paper, you're able to see like, maybe I have as many clients as I want right now. Maybe I am doing pretty well financially for myself. However, I haven't seen my mom in weeks. I haven't seen a friend in weeks, right? I haven't eaten the way I've wanted to, right? So write these thoughts down, compare the two, and kind of first step is to just navigate where you're at with that. The second question I have here, and this is just always funny asking personal trainers this, is do you practice what you preach to your clients? Obviously, all clients are different. You're preaching different things to your clients, but there are probably some set in stone things that you believe in as a trainer that you tell your clients to do or to try to apply to their daily life. Are you drinking as much water as you're telling your clients to drink that much water, right? Etc. So it's just always a fun little question to ask yourself. And then I just wrote, time management techniques are easier to build if you know your starting point. Have you ever calculated the time you spend on different tasks throughout the week? Now, this is obviously completely, it's not extra, but I know a lot of people are going to say like, Sam, I'm not calculating the time. That's fine. I probably wouldn't either. However, I do think it's an important thing. If you are a numbers person, or if you are a person that likes to see, right, data, do this, because it's interesting. When you think about the fact that you're working for like 10 hours a day, do you think you will be able to do that forever, right? I mean, seriously grasp the idea of working 10 hours a day. Right now, you might be crushing it. And yeah, working an extra hour here and there is absolutely worth it. But in terms of your own personal growth and longevity, if you're working 10 hours a day, it might turn into or equal to burnout in the long run. So jot down these questions, kind of ask yourself these things, let the thoughts flow. And this is kind of your starting point here. Coaches, do you guys have anything to say before we move on?
I think
Silence. I'm just kidding.
No. For me, one, I just always, Anthony, yes, there will be a recording.
Yes.
Also, like, I feel like there's rarely a day that goes by that I get everything done that I said I was going to get done. But I think that is kind of now the comforting expectation that I have for myself. And so with that being said, one, I just expect that, but then two, I think, shoot, hold on, what was I going to say? So one, my expectations are that I'm not going to complete everything that I had to get done, but then two, it was basically just like, how do I feel at the end of the day with what I got done? I think that's usually a pretty good indication. Like, I can expect that I'm probably not going to get everything done that I said I was going to get done, but I think that it's more so dictated by the quality of the time spent. Like, was it pretty focused? Was it on kind of the most next, like, necessary thing? Was it a pretty important thing that I got done? Or was it a bunch of little sporadic kind of quote unquote, like foul urgent type things that I got done that probably isn't going to move the needle that much. So I'm not going to feel as good about that. How intentional I was throughout the day, I think is something that I use to kind of check in with myself. So yeah, I want to share that.
Love that.
And for myself, like, being intentional requires often checking in with myself and being like, okay, the rest of the day I need to complete X, Y, and Z. I know X and Z I can complete in like 30 minutes. Those are easy one-off tasks. but Y is going to take some like attention, energy, effort. And if I want to get it done in an efficient manner, I need to like be dialed in. And if I'm feeling not dialed in, I've had a crazy morning with work or a client or something, I will step away from my desk. Like I'll go for a walk, grab a small little bite to eat, make sure I take some water. And then when I come back to my desk, I feel that like I can allot the time that I need to complete this task efficiently. And it might seem counterintuitive, like, wait, you're stopping your workflow, you're taking time out of your day to sit back down. But sometimes you need to, like, I don't know, it just works. I can't even explain it.
Yeah. Yeah. Taking a little bit of like a breather. And then it's also just like, yeah, because after you take the breather, you get back and you realize you worked so much better than you would have if you had not taken the breather.
Exactly.
And I think sometimes we put so much pressure on ourselves. We're like, no, it has to get done right now. But then when you realize like, it's probably not that big. And if it is that big, then push through.
But you're right, because like
it's probably not that big.
you're right, because I will step away and like once I step back in to finish this task, I'll be able to complete it because now I'm not worried about what's happening in the world, because maybe I've looked at my phone and I've checked some emails or texts or whatever.
Right.
I'm not sitting here thinking about like, oh, what am I going to eat? Because I just ate a little snack. Like I took time away to like collect myself so that I can efficiently get work done. So yeah, it seems counterintuitive, but it works. It's like jumbo shrimp. Doesn't make sense, but it's a thing. Right?
I love it. I was shocked by that example. I was like,
but it's true. When I say jumbo shrimp, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know.
It makes no sense.
There's a word for that. It's like denim jeans. Is that the same thing? Isn't there a word for that grammatically? Like, no. We'll focus.
Kind of like an oxymoron. Kind of like an oxymoron.
Yeah, oxymoron. Oh my goodness. Yeah, absolutely, guys.
Oh, one other thing real quick. To piggyback off of jumbo shrimp. No, not at all. My brain always just goes to like the macro with this stuff, because I think the tips and things are always helpful, but always for me, it needs to be involved with a bigger framework. And I think one of the best things that I've heard also on time management is that you have to develop a taste for problems. And that just means that the more productive you are at managing your time and getting more things done, you're just going to have a conveyor belt of more problems to then solve, right? Like whenever you realize that you're just solving problems over and over and over again for your entire life, then you can take some of that pressure off of you to like get everything done in a single day, or to, again, understanding like, hey, you're probably always going to feel like there's a little bit left on your plate. And that's kind of the point, right? Like there's always going to be more things to solve. And so, yeah, I think that can be a very liberating thought, at least for me personally.
Oh, absolutely. I love that. Awesome. Awesome, guys. Yeah. So let's move on and we'll keep going. So define your tasks and goals, y'all. What are your goals? Write them down, do whatever you need to do, put them on a whiteboard. That's what I do. It's right in front of my vanity. Do whatever you need to do to understand your business goals, to understand your personal goals, to understand your big goals. However you create goals and you see your life going, write it down. Identifying and defining them will help you better manage your time and priorities. And with that, I have like on my whiteboard, I have like all my goals, whatever. I have my own personal stuff. And I tell myself that, my goals and my schedule are something that I am going to stick to. Clients, like at first, when I first started training on my own, I would absolutely always let clients dictate my schedule and my goals and all of that. I think it's an important thing. And I do this. I create my schedule. I'm someone that does it weekly. I create my schedule and I know my goals for the week and I know my schedule for the week. And I'm reasonable about it. And I'm reasonable about my time. And I know when I have to work for fitness mentors and I know when I need to go to the gym, right? But when it comes to training people, like that, training clients should also be in that schedule, but let's try to never let them dictate our schedule. I think that's super powerful. And I think it's at first easy to let them do that. But yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. Once a list has been created and your goals, it's easier to prioritize, right? So we can prioritize goals. I know that I personally just married someone that thinks that he can get 16 house projects done in a week. So if you're like that, perhaps just, analyze how you set your goals. I'm just kidding. I'll tell him I fried him later on this, but right. Let's think about the prioritization with our goals, right? Whether we are someone that does this daily, weekly, monthly, we're going to prioritize our goals and tasks to get them done in the most efficient and effective way possible, while also maintaining our personal training business or working within a gym with our clients. This last one, I know it seems silly, but I had to put it. Decrease distractions. Okay. My phone is my distraction. Okay. I'll say it right here. TikTok is my distraction. Okay. If I have a goal set and I have a priority made and I see my phone going off, I will hit it. Right. So on this schedule that you create for yourself, on this plan, this weekly plan, perhaps you have some hours that you don't have your phone, or perhaps you are sitting at your desk for an hour and a half and you know that day you're sitting at your desk for an hour and a half. I know it seems silly, but I just wanted to put this in the presentation because this does work for some people. I have some friends that literally, they work remote, they get up, they don't even touch their phone until they send every single email from the night before. And that's that, right? So if that would help you, if getting that specific and that nitty gritty would help you, perhaps decrease some distractions that might get in the way. Guys, did you guys want to add on to any points on this slide?
I agree with decreasing distractions. Excuse me. I was just saying to Matt, I will share with you all. It's funny, we had that little catch up before and it is all very relevant. I started reading this book. I will plug it really quick. It's not by me. It's by Mel Robbins, she has an incredible podcast, had a great talk show as well, and is author of many, many books. But her first book, The 5-Second Rule, is all about decreasing distractions and being productive with your time, energy, but also your thoughts. So often while you're getting work done or doing anything really, a lot of times you'll have a thought come in, or maybe a distraction, whatever it may be. It doesn't only have to be with work and productivity. It can be with like self-esteem or anything. If there's a thought that you need to interrupt this pattern of thought that you're having, she has something called the 5-second rule, where you count backwards from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it has to be backwards. You cannot count from 1, because if you count from 1, you're just going to keep counting until 100. You'll never disrupt that pattern. But by counting backwards, you're disrupting that pattern, and you're channeling, you're telling your prefrontal cortex to like hone in. This is what I need to do. Go. It's kind of like when NASA is sending off a rocket. You're counting down till 1. And once you get to 1, it's just instinctual to put movement to a thought, or it just elicits a response, right? So I've been using this the past few days and reading this book. And if any of you are struggling with distractions, check out the book, or even just hearing me talk about it. If you find yourself being distracted, or you have a thought, or you pick up your phone and you're like, I shouldn't do this. I should be responding to this client or finishing their program. Count backwards, go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, put your phone down. And it's remarkable. So that's something that's been working for me. I hope if that's something that resonates with y'all, check it out. It's actually really cool. But it's a really simple task of just disrupting patterns that you have to create new ones. And that all comes with decreasing distractions and knowing how you work and being efficient with your time, energy, effort, thoughts, all of it. So check it out. It's really cool.
Yeah, I really do like that as well, Miguel. for me, I think one of the best tips I can give, and this also, so Anthony asks, he said he's currently studying for the NASM CPT credential. Any good study advice to nail the exam? I think this could work for this, or if you are trying to grow an audience, or you're basically just trying to figure out a long-term project and incrementally make headway on that each day. And for me, it's like outcome goals do not work. Like long-term goals, I do not set goals. It just does not work for me. I've tried, but like I am the judge and the jury, right? Like I'm the end all be all. And so it's just like, I'm just like, okay, I'm just not going to do that. Right. If I don't want to, I have no accountability to myself, besides what I want to do. And so therefore it's like, for me, it's not, there's not, like outcome goals aren't very motivating for me. However, like having a direction where I want to go makes sense. So mine typically goes in, there's kind of two steps. So first, it's going to be the actual strategy. Like where am I, like the direction that I'm trying to go, right? Like what is somewhat the end goal, or like around where I want to land, like what success looks like for me. And then I kind of work backwards from there. And like, I think, okay, what inputs can I do on a daily basis that are going to increase my chances of success, and success being that direction kind of that I sent, right? Because things are out of your control. You're not always going to know what you're going to be able to do, but you can control those inputs that you've spent the time strategizing and brainstorming and, you know, figuring out, okay, this is a worthwhile use of my time. And now it's just like, all right, now what inputs am I going to do on a regular basis that are going to increase my chances of reaching this success, right? And so for me, whenever I was first like growing my audience on social media, posting was like the number one thing, being consistent, right? And so this can go for, like I said, growing an audience, or this could be losing weight or something, like tracking your weights as well. But what I did was I had a big whiteboard in front of me where I worked. So I had my desk, and then I had a big whiteboard in front of me. And then I had like 3 or 4 or 5 process goals that I was going to do every single day that again aligned with that major outcome goal kind of that I was looking for, or like whatever that direction was that I wanted to head in. And I would set process goals. So it's like if I was posting on social media, like on Instagram, like 3 times a day, for example, at one point. But then I would just put a tally mark if I did it, right? So if I posted once, I'd put a black tally mark. And then if I didn't post that day, I would put a red tally mark. And then what happened was I ended up having this huge scorecard basically in front of me over time. And it was very, very motivating after, because like the beginning is always the hardest part, but after you start to get the chain going, it's very, very motivating to have that directly in front of you, especially if you're also seeing results from the inputs that you're putting in, which is very exciting. And so I had that scorecard in front of me. So if you're studying for the NASM exam, it's just like, for me, it would legit be like distraction-free hours worked each day, right? And that like my minimum would be like 2 hours, because even with that distraction-free, making like that's going to be a small goal that I think I could chip away at every single day. And I'd probably do that at the very beginning of every single day. So like now, and this is something that I even reminded myself of earlier, because again, this is a practice. Time management is a practice, and I feel like it's constantly an iterative practice. But like if I have a long-term goal, I have to just like, that has to be the first thing that I do, like the first hour that I do. And so I just tell myself 1 hour, that's all I'm going to do. Then I can get into anything else that needs to get done for the day. Of course, if there's anything urgent or something like a meeting or something, that's different. But if I have the freedom of my schedule to figure out what I'm going to do within the first hour, it's like I have to do that important but not urgent task the very first thing I do that day. Because if I don't, I'm just going to push it back later in the day. And then the end of the day comes, I'm like, oh, I didn't work on that thing again. That is very important to me, that I know is going to help me move the needle, but I didn't actually end up doing it. Right. So yeah, I think you have to figure out, sometimes the outcome goals can work very well for people, can be very motivating for people. But for me, I need to know the direction that makes sense, that aligns with what I want, and then figure out what are the daily steps. The number doesn't matter. It's just like what inputs make the most sense that seem reasonable, I guess. And then how can I do that on a daily basis and also hold myself accountable to that, like keeping myself to that scorecard. And for me, having that visual tracker of things, it was very, very helpful. So just kind of, I want to preach out there to all the people who are like, goals do not work for me. So that's me.
You know what I think it is? I've been doing a lot of like learning for myself, like how I function well in terms of like setting goals and creating habits. And I think what you're saying about yourself, Matt, I think you are a bricklayer. And when I say that, I mean, like, let's say this is point A, this is point B. There are some people who have this outcome goal and they can immediately jump. Like they have all the trust in the world that like, I'm just going to go for it, and they can do it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And then there's other people who you have that goal. It may seem daunting and overwhelming. So instead of looking that far ahead, you're only looking right in front of your feet, and you're every day just laying the path as you go.
Right. Right.
I don't think one is better than the other, but I think finding that balance of trusting yourself enough to like set a goal, but then also understanding that maybe the most, I don't want to say beneficial way, because like I said, I don't think one is better than the other, but just knowing that like this is a very daunting goal. Like it's scary to look across, I don't know, let's say like you're looking across an ocean, whatever, and you're like, I need to get there. Instead, just looking where your feet are right in front of you and setting small process goals that you complete every day. So yeah, I agree with you. So
yeah,
I am very much so that jumper, which I need to find a balance of also incorporating that path laying with small process goals, because I think that's beneficial as well.
One of the things that I heard, this was this also goes with goals, that I thought was very just a cool visual. And it's like, it's thinking about, you are driving on a road at nighttime by yourself, like say a back road in the country or something, there's no other cars, and you are driving.
I'm going to stop you right now. Why are you driving alone?
What?
My first question is, why are you driving alone in the middle of nowhere and it's pitch black?
Well, some people live in the country, Miguel. You know, this is just called, I'm going home is what's happening.
He's from New York. He doesn't get it.
Yeah, as I was saying, Kentucky, bro. Yeah, we had plenty of back roads where I was just like, I was by myself driving. But the whole idea is basically like you're driving, there's no other cars, but your headlights are going to have a light in front of you that expands out so far, but you can't see your end destination, right? You can only see what is, 50 yards in front of you, 20 yards in front of you, whatever it is, but you still trust yourself that you're going to make it to your destination at the end anyway, right? And so I think that that's a cool way of thinking about trusting yourself with these little small incremental goals. And so even though you can't for sure see the endpoint right now, you can trust yourself that you have that initial vision that can guide you there. So I thought that was cool.
But I like that you're saying trust yourself, because I think also what you just demonstrated before with having your whiteboard, and every single day having your 5 tasks that are working towards your outcome goal, by checking them off every day over time, I'm sure like after the second month, it became such a habit that you trusted yourself enough to know that I'm being consistent with this, which means that every day I'm moving forward closer to that goal. So yeah,
right.
I think it's comes down to trusting yourself.
Or you realize, oh, these actions aren't taking me closer to my goal, and then therefore I need to reiterate, like I need to strategize kind of with everything, right? I need to reprioritize, and so that's what I think tracking that way can also be helpful with. So yeah, it's all just thinking what is next, and then like what is the most necessary, and I think that is a dynamic thought process of intent over and over and over again, not only on a daily basis, but on a weekly basis, monthly basis, over time. Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Sweet. Great. And Phil wrote in the chat, I think if you work smarter, then less can be more. And I love that. Hell yeah, Phil. Love that. Awesome. So Miguel touched on this earlier. So here it is. It may seem counterintuitive, but give yourself a break. There are a lot of studies out there. Some believe that they should work for 50 minutes and then take a 10-minute break and then keep repeating that throughout the day. Some Some believe that they should just listen to their body, right? When do you need a break? I need a break now. Take the break. I'll be honest. I actually am terrible at this. I am someone that is in the mindset of, I just need to get it done. That's how I am. So I will work through that. I will start to feel burnt out and I won't allow myself to take the break. And then I definitely see that on the other side of things, slap me in the face. So I personally think that there is so much power in giving yourself a break. And I'm glad that Miguel brought up earlier,
Jumbo shrimp.
What?
Jumbo shrimp.
Jumbo shrimp. Yes. Thank God. I can apply this. So, no, but I mean, I'm glad that Miguel, you said, you didn't say like, oh, I take the day off, right? I'm not sitting here saying, oh my God, when you guys start to feel tired, just close your computer. No, I think that is something I would never preach. I think that working hard is great, but I definitely think that we live in a world where sometimes people glorify this, like, oh, well, I worked a 12-hour day, therefore I worked harder than you. And it's kind of like, if I'm feeling burnt out and I feel like I need a break, I'm going to take it. And you should not feel guilty for that, right? So Miguel mentioned he goes on a walk. That's his type of break. Me, that is not my type of break. My type of break is opening the fridge. But I'm in a loopy mood. There's all different types of breaks we can take. And there's moments when sometimes you might not need one, right? But if you are feeling like you need one, I would say it's fair to say, do it. This next point, I think this multitasking to me is very interesting. I have learned about myself in the last actually couple of months. This is a very new thing that I've learned about myself. I multitask a lot and I don't know if it's a good thing. And I still don't know if it's a good thing. I put a lot on my plate at one point in time, and I'm not able to just focus on one thing. Like, I don't think it's a good thing, but I'm still really exploring this part of myself, because I find that I thrive when I have a lot on my plate. And so I actually find myself kind of enjoying this idea of multitasking, and I don't think it's good. Because
what do you mean by multitask? Do you mean like within a day, or like multiple projects at one time? Or what do you mean specifically?
The latter. So it's kind of like I find myself being like, okay, I have 3 things to get done and they're all on let's say my desktop, and I'll do one for a little bit. And then I'm like, let me switch over. And I definitely, right now, as I'm saying this to you all, I definitely don't think it's a strong choice on my end. I think it would be beneficial to probably focus on one thing. However, I do think, like what Matt was just talking about, how he's not like the long goal oriented person he needs to focus on. I'm the opposite. I am so goal oriented. So I think this idea of like doing a lot of projects at once or honing in on one thing, I think it might be a personal preference. However, like I said, I have learned in the last 2 months, 1 month I'm not able to put the amount of effort into each task if I'm doing them at the same time. I would love to hear y'all's opinions on that. Just because if I'm being honest, I am a multitasker, so it's hard for me to preach not to do it. Just because I find myself doing it a lot.
Yeah.
So it's
me personally, if I have 3 tasks that like need to get done, they're all kind of big. They're not like small little one-off tasks, and I'm working on them. I am not a multitasker. I definitely will get more done by focusing on one, and then when that's completed, moving on to the other. Or not even if it's completed, just like, let's say I've run out of like inspiration, like I don't know, sometimes I'll be sitting here at Fitness Mentors, like editing something, which is great. But there are moments where maybe my brain has just like lost it. I have no creative like outlet to pull from. So at that point, it's like appropriate for me to like step away from that and move on to something else and put a pin in what I was doing. But I am not a multitasker. So I don't even know if there's anything for me to say, except
Yeah.
I'm just not. I just have never been that way. Yeah.
I think it depends. For me, it depends on the task, right?
Yeah.
Like it depends on, and it also depends. So like with me, I've found that um my day is broken up kind of into two parts, right? And it's kind of, this is the, I believe it was Kevin Kelly who's had the maker and the manager like type of personalities. And so the maker is more of like the creative artist, and then the manager is more of the like, I'm going to have a time slot for everything in the day. And so for me, it's like the mornings are more like the maker. They're more of creative hours. They're more of like, I'm not going to schedule anything before like noon. Typically, like if I have any calls, any meetings, anything like that, that is my like sacred creative time. And then in the afternoons, after I've eaten lunch and things, that's whenever typically I will get into emails and more like admin stuff and more like busy work type things. And I've also realized this is just part of, you know, there is time management, but there's also energy management. And I think that understanding how you work best, if you have that autonomy. I also understand that some people are working in gyms and things like that. You can do this on a micro scale, you know, whatever that means to you. But yeah, for me, it's typically the beginning of the day is more single task, like no distractions, that type of stuff. But then later in the day, you guys have seen my stories, like I will have music blaring. I will be, you know, like I will have multiple things going on at the same time while I answer emails or while I do something else. And that's just because that's just what I've found has worked for me. But it's constantly, I've been working for myself for several years and I'm still trying to figure it out. Right. But I like listening to people on this stuff, but then also I'm like, I'm not the person. I tried time slotting and like writing it out. I've really tried it. Like I've tried time slotting my entire day and just doesn't do it for me. Doesn't do it.
That flows nicely with the golden time. Sorry, Miguel, the golden time kind of, because Matt, I know you said like you've worked for yourself for a while, obviously. Have you always been kind of this like 2-part of your day type deal? Has that always been the case, or has this taken like a lot of time and energy to like be put into like knowing what works for you? How has that looked for you?
Yeah, I think it took more like acceptance and just like, this is how I work, right? And then therefore it's more so just like it's aligning yourself with what feels intuitive and what feels the most productive, and then kind of creating structure or routines or rituals or habits kind of around those things, right? And cultivating, like with my power hour, that's me like cultivating that energy to get those things done, right? It's like it's an artificial way of doing it.
Yeah. Why does it take acceptance though? Like why? And I'm not saying that as a way to like come back at you, just in general, I feel the same way. It's like, why does it take so much effort for us to accept that like, hey, me as a person, as an individual, this is how I work best.
Right.
Why do I need to like force myself to accept that? I think the answer is just, I guess, what's thrown in our faces of like, what's productive, what's right. There is no right. But yeah, I guess get to that place of acceptance of like, this is how I work. Faster than you think you need to, because that's the only way you'll find what works for you, is when you just realize like, this is what works for me. Just accept it, you know?
Yeah. I think, and I think figuring out how to not work on certain things is also the skill. Like what things should you not focus on is also just as big of a skill as like, figuring out what to focus on. And so you can kind of do that in a reverse type of way, like figuring out that, you know, later in the day, I'm not going to be able to focus on my creative work as much just because of my energy, and I had food and it's getting darker outside and I'm about to go to the gym or whatever it is. I'm just like, oh, it's just not typically whenever my brain works the best that way. But yeah, I think it's just from being fed from, you know, we're hearing CEOs do these certain things, or these people or whatever, people that are nothing like us. and they're just these hyper productive, and they have people that make their schedules for them
I
anyway.
was just about to say,
Yeah,
sometimes
it's just like
it's garbage because
they wake
don't
up
even follow it.
and their assistant's like, oh yeah, here's what you're
I was
doing
gonna say they
today.
have an assistant. That's
Crazy. Yeah.
But
So
Jackie in the chat said sometimes you have to give yourself permission to recognize what works best for you. Absolutely.
yeah, I think so.
Absolutely.
absolutely.
So
Yeah, guys. And I know like it's so interesting how different we all are, but I think that it's like it's important to focus that on the fact that that is okay. Matt, I saw that you were at the gym the other night, and I'm like, I wish I could go to the gym at night.
oh
I just wish I could. I wish I
Yeah.
could go to the gym at night. But I know through trial and trial again, I
so
will not
because I'm the reverse.
go. Right. I will not go. And it's also like, I think you're so right, because it's like you do have to understand what works for you, but you also just have to understand it's such an energy thing as well, right? Where are you able to put your energy? You know daily kind of where your energy is throughout the day, right? You know when it's pretty high, you know if you need lunch, you know if you're a grump at 3, right? You're ready for the day to be done. Like y'all know. And I think that it's so crucial to look internal and all of that, because personally working out wakes me up. So like I have to start my day with that. But then so many people work out at night, right? It's literally just so personal. And I think that there's so much power in understanding like, you know, where your energy needs to be throughout your day. And I think that's such a good way to optimize productivity in the world.
I use it to like button my day as opposed to start my day, right? So like the same way you do it to get started, I do it to end my day, actually.
I love it. Right.
And so it's just like, I know that after I get done at the gym, it's like, then my day is basically over as far as productivity goes. Then I come home and then I'm ready to eat dinner, and then I wind down for the rest of the night.
On the top.
Yeah. So and I also stay up late. So it's like, it's not a big deal for me if I take my pre-workout at like 5 p.m. So it's like, I'm staying up pretty late.
Yeah.
But also just learning, because I think that's smart, like knowing like, okay, great. Like I work out in the morning, and then this time I'm answering client emails, this time, like that's great. But I also think allowing yourself to not get stuck in that routine either, because sometimes life happens and maybe you need to switch your schedule around, or maybe you have a new client who wants to like onboard with you early in the morning, like things happen. So also allowing yourself to figure out multiple ways to like function and find times where like I am creatively able to access this at that point, or I need to sit down and be like tuned in at this time. So that's something I also.
Or you get a family, like you get children, and you can't, choose when you go to the gym. It just kind of fits it in wherever. That's also part of it, right? Like that's big. So yeah, I do think that's super interesting. I did have some tips here specifically. Also, guys, if you have any questions, just drop like specific questions to your own, like how Anthony asked about he's studying for the exam. Like that's one benefit of these webinars, is that you guys can use us during this time for questions, specific questions. But one thing I did want to share that has helped me specifically with online training, but I think that this will help in even in-person trainers as well. So I figured, so how I said, I have maybe a couple of hours. For me, I have like 4 hours of really good work in me probably per day. Like, and that would be it. That might even be generous some days. And so for me, again, how I said, I think of like the highest, first I figure out what's the highest leverage activities that I can do to kind of get to the outcome that I want to get in. So how I said there's inputs right here that are going to lead to this output. Well, then you have to figure out what are what's the biggest bang for my buck inputs that I could do to then reach that outcome. So it's like, there's a lot of different filters that you have to go through first to do that. And so one thing that I came up with on like my daily highest leverage activities is identifying 1 hour of work that I can attribute to each of these each day. And this is ideal. But the 3 areas would be client retention, right? So keeping the clients that I currently have, that's going to be a very big mover in my business. So it's probably important for me to spend at least 1 hour per day, either making resources for clients, going above and beyond with email support, being reliable with them. And so client retention would be number one. The second one would be marketing and sales. So that would be gaining new clients. So I already have my clients. I want to retain them. If I want to get new clients, now I've got to spend some time on the marketing and sales side of things. So this could be creating content. This could be having conversations. This could be following up with old leads. This could be putting new potential leads into a CRM so that I can then follow up with them, in a month from now or something like that. So one, client retention, keeping the clients that you have. Two is going to be marketing and sales. So I'm trying to gain new clients. And then my third one is going to be learning and growth. And this basically just means like, I'm trying to make that process of gaining and retaining clients easier. How can I make the wheel go faster? How can I, with less work, how can I be more efficient in all of this process? And so that could be creating systems, that could be learning about sales and copywriting and marketing. That could also be like money management, right? And so I think that those three areas from what I've found, so it's kind of like, how can I think another way I looked at it was like, how can I get clients today? And then how can I also get clients like 6 months from now? That was another way of how I thought about it. And that just means like, okay, how can I put out content today that could potentially lead to a sale, but how could I also make an email marketing campaign that I can automate so that whenever a new email subscriber comes through my marketing list, then I can market to them for the next 6 months because I have 6 months of emails already written out. So that would be like a long-term project that I'm trying to work on, right? And so that's one of those things where I was like, I need to wake up, I need to spend 1 hour on this because I know it's only going to make getting clients in the future easier. It's going to be easier on myself. And this is how I think you can really I don't think people spend enough time thinking about why they're doing what they're doing, as opposed to just like working hard, which I think some people can just work hard and grind their way into a very successful business. But for me, it's much more like I'm spending lots of my time thinking and like brainstorming and playing devil's advocate and like going back and forth and trying to figure out how I can do it all easier, or how I can, the inputs that I'm doing on a daily basis, I want to make sure that they count and I want to make sure that they matter. And so I'm constantly chipping away on that every single day. And I think as a one-person business, it becomes way more important too, right? Because you only have so many hours already that you can spend working on stuff. So you need to make sure that the stuff that you're doing is of highest priority and then also highest leverage. So the highest output for a given input, right? So I had that in my notes. I wanted to share that with you guys. Hopefully that might be helpful.
It is helpful. And I think, as you just said, when you're working for yourself, not only are you required to complete all those tasks, but you have to be the one holding yourself accountable and asking, is this what I should be doing with my time right now?
Right. And so for me, that's always boiled down to like, okay, I need to keep my clients. I need to get more clients. Yeah. I need to make doing that easier. Right. And that's kind of like, that's my main thing. And so of course,
that, I mean,
you gotta, I mean, but that is, so then it's just like, okay, now if those are the three main things that I need to do, then it's just like, okay, what are the inputs that I need to do to make that happen? Right. And so that's where it can get obviously more in depth, but.
No, I like that. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Awesome, y'all. All right, y'all. So if you've been on here before, we always say this, but for this, as we've learned today, it is very true. There really is no right answer, correct answer, universal best. So, take the nuggets of truth that resonated with you today and let them sink. I've learned in the last hour some things that I'm going to try to apply to my own, daily routine, but I also have learned some things absolutely just don't work for me, and that's okay. As we're all saying here, like it's cool to look at 3 people on a team at the same company, and we all have different ways of going about our days, right? That's cool. And that's also just a perfect example as to how different not only people are, but personal trainers can be, right? In the way that they are productive and they optimize that, and the way that they manage their time and their schedules and set goals, or they don't set goals, right? It's super, super, it's cool. And it's refreshing to see 3 trainers up here, right? Having such a different, kind of daily thing going on. Please, reach out to us, y'all. Like Anthony obviously had that great question about him studying for NASM. If you guys have any thoughts or also questions about maybe things that you could be working on, or you think you should be working on when it comes to managing your time, if you guys have questions on how to do some of that, reach out. We're always here. Our team is always here, as we say. Hop in the chat, shoot us an email, and we are here to help y'all. But yeah, today was awesome. Thank you, Matt and Miguel, for joining me on
Thanks,
this.
you guys. I enjoy conversing with you guys and learning, and just, it's nice. Yeah, it's a good time.
I'm gonna have some jumbo shrimp for dinner. I thought I was having sushi, but then you said jumbo shrimp. I'm going through it. I don't know what's going on.
Lots of seafood going on in your life.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what's happening. But you made me want jumbo shrimp.
But I'm a very visual person, y'all. Words are great, but sometimes I need to like see an image. So that was my only way of getting an image out. It
helped me
at all kind of related to what I was saying, but it worked. So
I love it.
You know what? And this is why I'm a very like image oriented person. And maybe this is helpful in terms of like productivity and management. If I have like a goal or something, I need to relate it to something visual, because that's how I retain information. So I'm sure leaving today's webinar, you may not remember anything that we said, but the second you see a jumbo shrimp, you're going to remember me and that analogy I made. So sometimes you need to attach like a goal or a task or something to something tangible. If you're that type of person, I'm that type of person. So that's why I do that,
I love it. From now on, every time I see a bag of frozen jumbo shrimp, I'll be like, there he is.
All I have to say is you're welcome.
This is called branding. We're crushing it. You guys just got to start doing this from now on.
I love it. All right, y'all. All right. Reach out to us if you need us. You guys are awesome. Thank you all for attending today's webinar, and we'll see you in 2 Thursdays from now.
Yeah. Have a good one, y'all. Take care.
Have a great weekend, y'all.
See you guys.
As always, thanks for listening to the Certified Personal Trainer Podcast. You can learn more about fitness mentors at fitnessmentors.com. Be sure to share this podcast on social media. And remember, we are here to help you succeed.